Hi, I'm Victor Marino, founder of People-Centered Learning and author of Inner Leadership. We're going to work with our colleague here today, Mr. Peter Klein, to demonstrate what it means to have inner leadership. Inner leadership gives you inner balance, gives you choice. The key words today here in organisational life is high performance. But it's only sustainable if the individual knows how to use their energy, use their thoughts and use their emotions in a way that is required to meet the oncoming demand. Now, the way that's done is by aligning your three great rhythms. We've been working forward on this today and using this flip chart to make these points. Your three great rhythms, one is the rate your brain cycles at. And the slower the brain cycles, the more cognitive dissonance you get, the more room for thought, the more room for creativity, the more room for innovation. Now, your brain and your heart work in concert. So to get control over your thinking, you need control over your cardiovascular system, your heart rate. And we know this works at 60 plus, maybe 70 for some people, maybe the lower for others, in a relaxed state. How do we bring about mastery over the cycles of our brain and our cardiovascular system? Well, it's our third element, which most of the time is unconscious to us, which is our breathing rate. We're going to show you today how focusing on breathing can bring about alignment between heart and mind. So I'm going to hook up, Peter, to the technology to demonstrate how this actually works in practice. And what we're going to look at is Peter in a fairly normal everyday stance, and we're going to look at how his heart is reacting. Now, don't forget, we said earlier that the way the heart rate performs affects the way the brain performs. So Peter is just acting normally, he's just been busy at his computer, and we're just taking time out to do this. So, just giving the equipment time to calibrate and pick up Peter's pulse rate, which is being picked up through the technology being attached to his ear, which is going to measure the pulse, which is in effect an echo of the heart. So here we go, I think we'll go, let's have that one. Now we can see this figure on the bottom is Peter's pulse rate, and that proves he's got a pulse, he's got a good strong pulse, and just adjust that top figure because that's showing the movement of his heart. Okay, so you can see that Peter's heart rate is quite low really, 40s to 50s, and you can see the kind of pattern that it's creating. Now, what I want to ask Peter, without putting you under undue stress or difficulty, what's your biggest challenge at the moment, thinking in your business or in other parts of your life where you're called upon to be working a little harder or working a little longer, or where it's causing you some dilemmas, whether it's financial issues or marketing issues? But maybe just speak about that a little bit and see where that's going.
Well, I'm thinking about it as you were describing it, and the time that I have, the availability of my own personal resources to get things done really affects me. Now this scares me because I can see my rate going up, I can see my heart doing different things.
That's interesting, isn't it? You can see.
And I was only just thinking about it and starting to verbalize it. So again, the longer I concentrate on that, the more upset actually I get about it, because I've got a long weekend coming, I don't have the time and energy to get everything done.
Okay, and that is showing up, as you can see on the output here. Peter's heart suddenly going up, getting quite lumpy, and getting out of coordination. So now, this may not be evident to you, the user of your brain, if you will, of your body, of your mind. But what's happening here when we're up here, little bits of anxiety will start to creep into your decision making, your communications, your actions. They produce risk in terms of the success of your output. So now we're going to show how Peter can bring this under control very rapidly and very easily. So Peter, what I'm going to ask you to do for the moment, if you would, is just be aware of your breathing to start with. That's the first thing, is just become aware of your breathing. This simple technique itself can have dramatic effect. And the second thing is, if you could breathe rhythmically into the count of, let's say, 6, and out to the count of 6. So you're starting to take control over your breathing pattern. As you do this, you're starting to take control over your autonomic nervous system. That means you're starting to take control of your thoughts, your mind. Some would say different levels of mind that enable you to intuit and see opportunities, where when the heart is busy dealing with anxiety and pressure, no opportunities exist. Now just focus your attention, if you will, around your heart area, because we're trying to get a nice balance here between your cardiovascular system and your brain through using your breathing. And any noise you can hear in the background that sounds like a gong or a bell is actually part of the software, and I'll show you that a bit later on. So just breathe in and out from there easily and regularly. And now we can see here that Peter is bringing himself under control. These curves are not simply curves. Of course they are curves, they're curves of your heart. But actually these are curves of your thinking. These are curves of your decision making. These are curves pertaining to high performance. So I'm going to stop the technology right there, and we can just have a brief review. So if we stop the recording here.
Really interesting, isn't it? Wow.
There we can see the difference here to what Peter appeared there. And that's a 2-minute process in. We can see within 2 minutes, 30 seconds, we start to get a more rhythmic, more coordinated heart. Now down here, we've got some interesting news as well. This is measuring what's called coherence. And this is the coherence between brainwave patterns and cardiology, heart wave patterns, if you will. You can see that Peter sat down and had a little rise and then a fall. That would be the sounds that you heard on the technology. And Peter, in the first couple of minutes, was breathing quite nicely, and then he fell away quite dramatically, became what we're talking about, incoherent. When we began to do the breathing, Peter began a steady climb up into what athletes call the zone. That is an optimal state for performing any kind of task, whether that's corporate or whether that's a people task, whether that's a commercial task or whether that's a tough decision or whether that's preparing or planning. And this can be brought about, this is brought about simply by breathing and by focus. Now there's a lot more we can do here than we've only taken 4 minutes to show you. And it lies in this graph here, which shows this is the output of Peter's coherence. He was 38% incoherent, 6% coherent, and 56% very coherent. And that speaks back to this model, this part of the model here. So, with the techniques and methods that we offer, which are simple and profound, we can increase your performance and we can develop resilience and the inner balance required. Another output from our experiment with Peter was showing that Peter was 38% incoherent, 6% medium coherent, and 56% very high coherence. And that all came about by the controlling of his breathing patterns. Now, we're in the business of increasing high performance, but sustaining high performance. This means building resilience to external pressure and stress, but also having the resilience internally to be able to use and download our cognitive capabilities. We have a number of different products. They come from the same basis. It's you having control. It's you being the inner leader to create more impact in the outside world. Thank you.